I'm running 150 miles across Connecticut in about 3 months. And I'm going to talk to you guys in today's episode of building the business, about what my mindset is going into this event, how I'm going to be promoting it and monetizing it, and the entire journey that's going to be these next 3 months leading up to the 150 mile run across Connecticut. So I came up with this challenge based off of and inspired from a runner in Austin who a lot of people may know. He's not a small time influencer or runner at this point, I guess. His name is Matt Johnson, and he ran across Texas in 17 days. I believe, my memory is not failing me, I believe that he was running for about 17 days, averaging about 50 miles per day. So I thought, if he can run across Texas, took him about 17 days, then I think I can run across my home state of Connecticut. So I'm going to share this on the screen in just a little bit, but I'm going to be starting from the northeast corner of Connecticut in a town called East Thompson at the tri-state marker of Connecticut, Massachusetts, and Rhode Island, running all the way down through a bunch of those towns somewhere in the middle, ending in Greenwich, Connecticut, right on the border of New York. So that's the general outline of this and the general inspiration. I want to talk to you guys about what my pacing is going to be and how I'm going to be promoting and monetizing this as well. A little bit more background on my inspiration and my idea for this is, as you probably know from the last video, if you watched that, I am an online fitness coach. I do group training, I do one-on-one training. I work with a lot of athletes, a lot of high school, middle school, and college athletes in my area. And what I wanted to do was partner with somebody, an organization that raises money for kids that are in the community looking for the inspiration that I'm trying to provide. So when I was thinking about this, and when I was thinking of organizations near me, I immediately thought of two organizations. One I've worked for before is a company, an organization called Good Sport. What they do is they provide sports equipment for kids, underprivileged kids in local communities, giving them football pads and soccer balls and lacrosse nets and everything else that goes into youth organizational sports. I've worked with them before when I was raising money for a Tough Mudder that I did, and I believe I raised close to $2,000 or $3,000 in that fundraising event. So that was a huge success with the organization called Good Sport. But what I wanted to do was a little bit more local, because this is a run across Connecticut and a Massachusetts-based company. Although that's fantastic what they do and I still fully support them, I wanted this to be more grassroots, if you know what I mean. So I am partnering with the Wakeman Boys and Girls Club. And I have a connection with the Wakeman Boys and Girls Club. Not that I used to go there, or not that I've ever fully worked there full time, but I have a former teammate from both high school and college. He was my captain in high school and my teammate in college on my rugby teams. And he now works there. He's one of the program directors. He oversees a lot of the after school programs for the middle school and high schoolers. Over the summer, he asked me to come by to the clubhouse, the Wakeman Clubhouse in Southport, Connecticut. And I was going to do a 2-hour fitness seminar, a 1-hour workout on the turf, and a 1 hour, and that's 2 total, and another hour of rugby training. And the kids loved it. I believe they were between 5th and 8th grade, and it was a huge success. So my mind immediately went back to the Boys and Girls Club when I was thinking about who I wanted to partner with and who I wanted to raise money for this run. Now, I've posted a couple videos on my Instagram and other social media platforms, one of them being a pacing strategy. So my pacing strategy for this is really dependent, and I can get into it a little bit deeper in maybe another video when we get closer to the event. I might even show you guys a little bit now, like a little sneak peek of what I'm talking about. But it really is dependent on each segment. There's going to be 9 segments in this 150-mile run, anywhere between 22 and 12 miles. And each of the segments, especially in the northeast corner of Connecticut, are very hilly. So there's much more elevation, much more ascent per mile. Like the average ascent per mile, I believe, is around 20 or 30 feet per mile. So not crazy elevation by any means. My first ultramarathon was a 50-mile race, and the elevation per mile on that one was about 100 feet per mile. So a lot different, but that was a much shorter race as well. The segments that are going to have the most hills, the highest elevation, are generally going to be in the first quarter or the first third of that race. So once I get down kind of to the east coast or down to the south coast of Connecticut by the Long Island Sound, it's going to be much flatter, and that makes sense because as you go more inland, there's a little bit more hills. But my pacing strategy for each of those segments differs because all the segments are different lengths. The ascent is all different lengths, and the cumulative miles are going to be a big factor in the amount of speed I'll have left in my legs. In the first couple segments, I'm expecting to run between a 9 and a 10-minute mile. And during my easy runs now, I've been doing, it was yesterday where I did an easy 6-mile run. And I know 6 miles is an incredibly small distance when it is compared to 150, but I was able to keep my heart rate below 125 for the entire 6-mile run, which was about 50 minutes. And I feel if I can maintain that heart rate at a pace of what I hit yesterday was like a little less than 9 minutes per mile, I feel like when I'm 50 miles in, I can still be hitting probably between a 9 and a 10-minute mile. When I'm actually focusing on going down to a 10-minute mile, it actually gets very challenging for me because it's a lot slower than what I'm used to be running at. And then during the latter half of the race, probably from mile 75 to the end, I'm planning on running probably between like a 10 and an 11. And I don't honestly think that I'm going to be running an 11-minute pace, but my average will probably be an 11 and worst case scenario 12 because of the fact that I'm probably going to have to walk at some point during these segments. I'm going to be planning on stopping for at least 10 minutes at each stop to kind of refuel and kind of get my legs back under me, get some energy, switch out pacers, and a couple other things that I want to talk about in either a later episode or in this episode. And without getting too into the weeds here, I do want to show you guys the route that I'm going to be taking kind of just at a general, super broad overview standpoint. So like I said, starting in a town called East Thompson, right here at the Connecticut, Massachusetts, Rhode Island tri-state marker. I'm going to be running down through all these different towns here, right? Running through Putnam and Pomfret. Until I get to my first stop. My first stop isn't going to be glamorous at all because it's just going to be at the intersection of the trail that I'm taking and Old Griffin Road. And like I said, during these stops, I'm going to be resting my legs, eating some real food. The food that I plan on eating, at least of now, I haven't practiced with any of this stuff yet because I haven't had runs long enough to practice with. But I'm going to be most likely eating cups of ramen because it has the ones that I've been looking at have like 20 grams of protein and 20 grams of carbs, along with like 1,000 milligrams of sodium. So those are going to be probably my go-tos. I just need to practice with those. And then I also want to have on deck. What I also want to have on deck are PB&Js, but my girlfriend's allergic to peanut butter, so they're going to be sun butter. And I honestly love sun butter, so it's not a big deal. And they're very similar macros. So not a very flashy stop here, but that's around mile 22. I'm going to keep going south through Hampton, through North Windham, through Willimantic, until I get to my second stop, which is going to be right at Lebanon Road, another non-sexy stop. These stops are going to be basically nighttime. This one, I believe, is going to be maybe around like 9 or 10 p.m. So again, nothing super fancy and not super sexy. Going down again, we're going through North Westchester, we're going through East Hampton until we get to the Portland Recplex. So we're in Portland, Connecticut here, and the Portland Recplex is basically just like a little park where it has some tennis courts and stuff. I feel like that was going to be a pretty good spot. Again, it's nighttime, so it's not a huge deal. But I always want to be stopping at a place where I feel comfortable and where I feel like has good energy. So I looked up Google Maps, looked around the area. Even though it'll be dark, it seems like it'll be better energy than the last two stops. Going down through Middletown, Middlefield, and all the way into Wallingford. Wallingford Center, there's going to be a park called Doolittle Park. This is going to be around 1 or 2 a.m. And again, not a super sexy stop. It doesn't get super sexy until we get into the daylight, and we should be in daylight by mile 100. In West Haven, there's a bird sanctuary called Sandy Point Bird Sanctuary. I'm going to be stopping there, and that'll be probably my first stop after the darkness fades away. So from here on out, I'll be running in the light, which is going to be super, super exciting. My next stop is going to be in Stratford. Not a super sexy one, but there's a little patch of grass here called the Stratford Center Historic District, and it's basically just like a little field with some houses and like churches back there. So I'll probably be stopping somewhere along this Academy Hill because that looked like a decent place to stop. This street right here, whatever that's called, Elm Street, was a little bit busier, but no biggie. And we keep going all the way down until probably the main stop, which is going to be at the Wakeman Boys and Girls Club. So right here in Southport, Connecticut, there's the Wakeman Boys and Girls Club. That one might be a little bit of a longer stop just because I assume they're going to have tents and food and music and stuff like that. And I have a meeting in about 30 minutes that we're going to figure out and iron out all these details. So after the Boys and Girls Club, there's only 2 more spots, and we go down through Norwalk into Rowayton, and this is my penultimate stop at the Rowayton Dog Park. And I think this will be a really good one. I have a lot of people that I know in this area that will come out and support me. And then the last but not least stop is in Byram Park in Greenwich, Connecticut. I really wanted to stop over here. And the reason for that is there is a welcome to Connecticut sign somewhere along this road. I think it's right here where the road splits off, but it wasn't very practical. Byram Park is going to be much bigger, and it's going to be able to host a lot more people. We're going to have a post-race party there, and it's going to be a whole lot of fun. And one last thing on the laptop that I want to give you guys a sneak peek of is my pacing sheet. So here are all the segments, right? These are the end locations, the miles in each segment. I have the ascent and descent of all of those segments along with the net elevation. And here I have estimates of the rest time with the quickest and the slowest, along with my paces that use a formula to determine, based off of the ascent and the cumulative miles, how fast I predict that I'll be going, with an average pace of about 10 minutes per mile. My moving time is over here. So this is the total amount of time per segment that I'll move. The lap time includes all of the different rest times, again with the quickest and the slowest estimated. And then over here, depending on the start date, or the start time rather, if I start at around 12 p.m., my quickest finish time will be around 2:30, slowest will be 2:45, which would not be ideal, but we would live with it. And that's kind of what my general pacing is going to be like. I've been really, really into the details and everything like that. And I'm really excited to kind of get this going. And really, I could honestly, I feel like I could run this right now, but I do want the time to promote it and train for it, because training is a huge part of the mental process. I lied. There's one more thing on my laptop that I want to show you guys, and it is the website. It is a work in progress. There are still stock images on here, but this is where everything about the event is going to be taking place. You can look up each individual route itself. Like for example, the first route is the Old Griffin Road, and you can travel by segment to all the different pages. Again, it is not filled out at all, but that is a place where I'm going to be posting all the info for everyone to go see, especially if you are interested in donating or being a part of the run. Speaking of donating and being a part of the run, there are a couple different aspects and a couple different ways to donate. So the first one would be to be a sponsor, right? If you wanted to be a sponsor of the run, if you're a corporate entity, for example, my father's business, my mother's business are most likely going to be sponsoring and getting their names on the t-shirts. So that's going to be one way for people to donate. Second would be just to send a good old donation over to the Wakeman Boys and Girls Club page. That way they get all the proceeds and you get a tax deduction on that as well. The third way is not announced yet, and it's not finalized yet, but I'm going to be doing a buy a mile program. So if you want to buy a 1 mile run, basically you pay $15 or so. That price is still up in the air, so I'm not sure if it'll actually be $15, but you pay, let's say $15, and you go out and run 1 mile with me, starting at one of those different starting points. That would be option number one. Option two is going to be a 5K run. Option three is going to be a 5 mile run. Each of those have different tiers. And then there's also going to be an option for a half marathon or a marathon. And I'm still thinking of different ways for this to be tracked and this to be put on the website for everyone to see and everyone to be a part of, so that we can have a super, super tight-knit community around this event. Lastly, in terms of my monetization and promotion strategies, the Boys and Girls Club is being very, very helpful in terms of promoting this. They have connections with News 12, the local news station in my area. So they're gonna potentially get them to come to one of the events that we're doing together. We're doing 3, maybe 4 events. 2 or 3 of them are gonna be me presenting to middle schoolers and high schoolers for about 30 to 45 minutes, talking about my run, talking about discipline, along with having healthy relationships with health and fitness. One of the other events is going to be a 0.5K. So this is going to be a fundraiser where the kids are running 0.5K I'm not sure if that's the actual distance, around their turf to help raise money for the event. And then the last thing that we're doing, like I said, is the buy a mile. And that's a little bit more on me and more on my followers, people that want to run with me. So I'm going to be doing more of the promotion for that. But they are being really helpful with doing press releases and getting me in contact with all these different news outlets to promote the event and promote raising money for them. And I don't think I've said this yet, but my goal for raising money, my fundraising goal, is $15,000. I thought that was a symbolic number because I'm doing 150 miles. $15,000 for 150 miles kind of sounds good. And I'm kind of just going all over the place now, but the tagline for this run, I came up with it myself, and when I went into one of our meetings with the Boys and Girls Club, they had a really great addition to it. So my initial thought was running for minds, bodies, and futures. And I picked the Boys and Girls Club because their mission and values resonate with me and resonate with what I value and what I want to push out and inspire into the world. One of their pillars is having a healthy lifestyle. So, it was a perfect mesh between, having discipline and talking about health and fitness, along with, their aspects and their values of healthy lifestyle and learning and safety and community and stuff like that. The tagline that we came up with together is running for minds, bodies, and great futures. And great futures, it seems like a really small change, but it is a part of their vocabulary and their verbiage, what they use when they're talking about themselves and what they want to do in the communities. So, that's a super, super high level overview. I'm going to get into much more detail in some later videos on both Instagram, YouTube, and on TikTok. But check out the website, runacrossct.com, and make sure to donate when the donation page goes up on the 21st of January. Hopefully you're having a great day. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Peace.